Good morning, members, and welcome to this meeting of the full licensing committee. Can I call upon the clerk to furnish us with the housekeeping measures?
Thank you. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. The meeting may also be recorded or streamed for live or subsequent broadcast by members of the public, although ultimate discretion in this matter lies with the Chair in case of disruption. For those in the room, please note that if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point at the War Memorial in the gardens opposite the front of this building in Bourne Avenue. Finally, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum and mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. For those in the room, this includes turning off microphones and turning the volume down completely on your laptops. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 1 on this morning's agenda, apologies.
Thank you. Apologies for absence have been received from councillors Filer, Howell and Matthews.
Thank you. And item 2, substitute members.
None received.
Thank you. Item 3, election of chair. I will at this point hand over to the vice chair to conduct the election of chair.
Thank you. And from the chair, can I propose Councillor Flagg as chair again this year? Thank you.
So is there any, can I just confirm there's no other nominations for chair? No, so can I have a show?
Second.
Sorry.
Can I second?
Yes, of course you can. Okay, so no more, any more nominations? No. Right, fine. That is Councillor Flagg in the chair again.
Thank you very much, members. Thank you for your support. Item 4, this morning's agenda is the election of vice chair. And I would like to nominate that Councillor Moore be elected as vice chair for the municipal year 24-25. And I'll put a seconder in.
Very happy to second that nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you willing to take the post?
Thank you.
Thank you, members. Moving on then to item 5 on this morning's agenda, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations on this morning's agenda? No, thank you very much. Confirmation of minutes to confirm and sign as a correct record the minutes of the licensing committee held on the 7th of March and the licensing subcommittee meetings held on the 28th of February, the 13th and the 27th of March. Are members happy that I sign these as a true and correct record? Thank you. Item 7, to receive any public questions, statements or petitions submitted in accordance with the Constitution. Michelle?
None received.
Thank you very much. Moving on then to item 8. On 7th of March 24, the committee approved an increase in the private hire and Hackney carriage fees. Officers have realised there was an error. With the spreadsheet provided, all fees were subject to a 4% inflationary increase. Can I call upon Nananka Randall to introduce the item, please?
Yeah, hi, thank you. It's just an error was found within the spreadsheet that we provided, so that the private hire vehicle fee is the only one that had an error applied to it. We actually applied the 4% inflationary increase to the wrong fee, basically. So we did 160 from a previous year, from 2022, instead of the £175, which was last year's or this year's fee, which is 2023, which was 175. So the fee should have been 182 for this year. So if members would agree the amendment, we would then go out and do the consultation again. All the other fees have been approved. They've gone out and they've been updated. It was just this error to remedy it. These things happen, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Nananka. Can I, from the chair, just say that I think that the revised amount, as shown on the paper, personally, I think we should just move with that, but I'll open it up to debate to members. Everyone happy, I think? Okay. In which case, then we agree the proposed fee as stated on the agenda item. Thank you, Naneka. Item 9, the forward plan.
Thank you, Chair. So the forward plan, there's been a few little tweaks to it, so I'll just go through it with you. The pleasure boats and boat person policy was agreed last year as a draft, and we were hoping to get consultation out this year. Due to quite a lot of pressures, I think, with the consultation team earlier on this year with a lot of the budget things that are going, and a lot of other consultations that have gone in, they couldn't get us going with their consultation. We had hoped to start this month. Unfortunately, with the timings, with certain things that happened obviously last year, on the beach tragedy, we feel it's inappropriate to start a public consultation on this matter at this time. And actually looking at timings with the inquest and things that are happening this year, we actually feel it's much more appropriate to leave the consultation now until next year. So what we'll do is officers will actually do more consultation directly with the stakeholders, so the harbour commissioner, the boat inspectors and the licence holders, and if there's any sort of amendments through it, we'll bring a new draft basically next year to you and then do consultation next year, if that's okay with you. It's not a statutory policy, we haven't got a policy in place at the moment, so there's no real urgency. We just felt that it was appropriate this time to just put it back a bit, if you're okay with that.
Members happy with that? Thank you.
Thank you. So the review of statement of licensing policy, that's ongoing. We've had workshops on that with members. So we're just working on sort of the draft following those workshops. We've got another workshop coming up, and we're still intending to bring that to committee for September. Yes, statement of licensing for September. And then it will go for consultation shortly afterwards. So that's all on course at the moment as proposed. The review of the Hackney carriages, we sort of tweaked things a little bit because that will be quite time consuming, we think. So we put that back to the December meeting, and again that helps stagger the consultations as well, and it allows us to spend the time that we'll need on these drafts as a committee to make sure you're really happy with them going through them. And then the scrap metal policy, we're intending to bring that to the December meeting. There is no statutory requirement for it, and actually there's not been very much change, so it's actually more of a tweak than a full review of the policy. It's probably just sort of updating the dates, to be honest with you. There's not been any legislative or real guidance update at all on that, so it may not really require full consultation. It'll just be approve it and go to committee, go to council for that one. And then the last one that we've got here is the statement of gambling policy. This one is a bit tricky. It's statutory document, and it has to be done every 3 years. And there's sort of nationally there's time scale. So the Gambling Commission expects all the local authorities to have got their new policies in place for January next year, but the Gambling Commission hasn't published any updated guidance for them, and they have advised local authorities that the updated guidance will be published next year, which will kickstart a full review of any policy that we do this year, because the updated guidance is going to be quite different, I believe, than what we've got in place now. So the Gambling Commission's guidance nationally to local authorities is to do, again, a very light touch this year, just update the dates, get it through, get it approved by council for January, ready for January, and then we'll do the proper review next year. There's no point in doing one now, going for consultation, doing all that, and then having to redo it again next year. It's just a waste of resource. So if members are happy with that, what we'll do is for the September meeting, we'll present literally just an updated version of our current policy to get that ratified by council, ready for January, so that we're not subject to any reviews or judicial reviews. So we've got an updated policy per se, and then we will fully review it next year when we've got the guidance in place from the Gambling Commission.
Thank you. Thank you, Nananka. Do members have any questions or comments at all? Councillor Harman.
Thank you. Just as an extra thing to this, I know we've previously had discussions about the sexual entertainment venue policy. I just wondered if we are any further in knowing when that might be coming for discussion, or we might be ready to. Has there been any conversations about that?
Nananka.
I haven't been given any instruction per se to create one. I would need real clear guidance. It's not something that's on the forward plan or on my radar at the moment, and I would be led by members and senior management, whether that's something that members want or council wants to progress with and what we would want it to look like.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, I was just going to say that what we actually discussed at a briefing was the review of statement of licensing policy. We had to get that in place first, and that takes an awful lot of work, as you know, and it's due to come up in September for the draft policy. When that's all sorted out, then we can look at doing some more work. But at the moment, I think they've got quite enough to be getting on with. We can't overload.
Councillor Keddy.
Is the SEV licensing policy something we can consider for the forward plan after this current piece of work has been completed? Yeah, okay, in the future. Okay, fine, thank you.
Mrs. Cole.
Yeah, and I think what we really need to do with that policy, we need to steer, the licensing team need to steer, so we can create a draft. At the moment, all we've got is, you know, historic documents that are no longer valid. And before we really start any work, we actually need to know what the council wants. You know, what do members want? You know, what does senior management want? And once we've got that steer, then we can sort of put, you know, that into progress. So I mean, that's the thing, and I think that's what the licensing team have said. We have been saying, you know, from the last sort of year anyway, 18 months, that's what we'd rather do, because we're sort of floundering here a little bit. You know, our licensing team could do a draft. We thought the draft was fine last time. So but until we know exactly what people want, well, not people, the council wants, and you know, that steer will come from yourselves as members, and then we'll bring that policy to the licensing committee and then sort of, you know, start it from there. That was what we had planned for that policy.
Councillor Hilliard.
Thanks, Chair. It's following on from that to an extent, but is there any government legislation or changes coming along which will likely affect not only sexual entertainment but other of our policies, which again will create work for you? And I know the Vice Chair and Chair and maybe officers had a meeting with the central government, and again, if any things came along that which might hit us. Thank you.
All I can report on that was that the two members of the team that came down from the Home Office basically listened to what we had to say. They were quite impressed with our training regime for members, but they felt that nothing would happen until after the general election. So, yeah, but Vice Chair.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, further to the original discussion about the SEV, I thought that in order to get a view, we first had to understand what actually was in place around the nighttime economy. That's part of the briefing that we're having later, but there's also going to be a non-licensing sort of briefing on the nighttime economy at a later date, and Democratic are going to do that for us. So I think Sophie is going to collate that together. It's just that, you know, you can't change what you do, you know, you need all the information. It's got to be evidence-based before we do anything. So I thought if we did all that sort of thing, and we learned exactly what's happening, because clearly things are changing, because students aren't drinking as much as we did. So, which is a good news, but it's surprising, but you know, that's life. So we need to know exactly an up-to-date situation before we actually do anything, I felt.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you. Can I suggest that at the right time we have a workshop and we can possibly sit down and thrash all this out? Because until we can do that, there's no way forward, is there?
Thank you, Councillor Williams. I was going to suggest that maybe the chair and vice chair put together a brief report which we can present at full council to ask the full council which way they want to go. But we obviously need to put a bit of meat on the bones to explain to the councillors, which if we did it in a written report, at least they'd get a chance then to read the situation and hopefully come up with an answer one way or the other. I don't know what members feel of that.
Yeah, I'm just going to add up. I think that's a really good idea to do that in a full council setting, so everyone can have the information put before them, understand the current situation, and then make a decision where to go. I think it's a good suggestion.
So,
Yeah.
So do we need a workshop element for that to put something together, or
Train.
I know we've got the training after this meeting with regard to
Yeah,
nighttime
we need
economy.
full council train.
I'm happy to sort of draft you something that's got the legislative sort of bit of background on what's happened previously, what options could be available that you could use for committee or full council. I'm quite happy to do that with you, for you.
Would members be happy with that to move it forward? Thank you. So we'll put together on that then.
The way to go with it is produce a report for full council, but rather than discuss it all at that point and make a decision at that point, because I think don't know what democratic services would feel, you know, trying to fit something like that into a full council meeting when everything else is fitted in could be quite tricky. But I think the report, and it will open up and it will, you know, it just gives somebody something to read, and it could sort of just trigger then the discussions and even bring it back to the next full council meeting or something, you know. But it's like getting the information out there. It's like we need to do something, but I'm not sure if you'd be able to do the whole thing in one meeting.
So would it be better for for us to put together a report to go to full council, but actually bring it to the next full meeting of the licensing committee to so that we can all endorse what we're putting forward to the council, and at least I can then, you know, present to the council and say this has been endorsed by the full committee as a way forward. Members happy with that? Yeah. Okay. Any further debate on that then? No. Thank you. I think the last item in Anchor was the training and briefings.
Do that after the session.
Oh, big pardon. Okay. Right. There being no further business to conduct, I close the meeting at 10:20. Thank you very much.
Sure.